Hi there, how are you? In this video, we're going to go through each section of how to write a business plan, and this video is going to be structured as a template, so I'll actually go through each section and tell you sort of what you have to write in it. And if you need elaborate information, I have a full course on this stuff which covers each section in a more elaborate way, and I'll have a link to that in the description of the video on YouTube. So that's if you need more, but this video should get you a very long way. It's structured in a business plan template. You'll learn how to write a business plan, and you'll get many tips along the way that are going to be pretty helpful for you. So let's get right to it. And so there's going to be 20 tips here to get you going. So the first one is really, what is a business plan anyway, right? Like people sometimes think they have to write one. Do they need one? What is it? And basically, it's not like some document that you must have, right? It's essentially an expression of your business strategy that you're planning to execute. Some people might say it's an expression of your business model. Business model being, it's like a 1,000-foot view of your business. All the components of your business explained, right? And people see this as very daunting, especially if you're a first-time entrepreneur. It's like, oh my God, all the components of the business, and they have to play well together. They're not in a vacuum by themselves. They have to actually play well together and like mesh with each other. And if one part of the plan changes, it kind of skews all the other parts and it changes them, and they have to be adjusted and all that. So it can be complex. It doesn't have to be. And this slide basically explains that it's just an expression of your business model, like I just mentioned. So when should you have a business plan? Again, some people say, they think like, oh my God, I need to have one before I start a business to give to an investor. I don't know. It's somebody told me I need to have one, so I'm writing one, right? Well, there are 2 times that I recommend that you have a business plan. The first time is, if anybody or any organization that you want to work with asks you to have one, that's a good time to write a business plan. Okay, it makes sense. But the more common time to have a business plan is if you just want to plan out your own business idea, put it into writing, and get it really organized. Because it's not good to have just some half-made business idea and then pursue it. You really need to, if you want to have a real, actual, successful business, you need to have some rigor, structure, organization to your overall business execution and the business plan. And so having it on paper or writing it down really helps you out in getting really to understand, this part doesn't make sense anymore. Once you write it down, sometimes it's much more clear. So it's really great for you to organize your own ideas. So, like I said, people, they find business planning very complicated, and it can be. But let's start with something very simple, and then once you understand this, we'll get into all the little parts of the business plan, which will make it simple to write. And again, I'll have, sometimes I'm going to allude to, example, like I have a specific example of a business plan, and that example is also in the business plan course that I mentioned that you can get. So, and every once in a while, if I give examples, I'll give examples from that business plan example. So anyway, so the simple business plan that anyone should kind of start with is only 3 items in it. I made it as simple as possible for you. So the first is, of course, your product or service that you offer. Okay, so that's your business idea, essentially, right? But the business idea, it can't be by itself, right? Of course, you're going to have to promote it and get clients. So the marketing is going to have to play a role here. Okay, you're going to have a marketing plan. And no, most people have a marketing plan, especially first-time entrepreneurs, like, I'll promote on Facebook, Twitter, and by giving out business cards and flyers. Well, that's not a professional marketing plan, and you're going to have a professional marketing plan. We're going to talk about it when we get to that. But essentially, you'll have to put a lot more thought into marketing than what I just mentioned. And of course, you have to create the product, you have to promote it and sell it, and it all has to happen within finances that make sense. You want to be profitable. You want to generate enough revenue. So that's also kind of so these are the three things, right? Product, marketing, the finances. And they must play well together. And then soon I'll explain it. We'll get into more detail in these, but generally, if you want just a simple business plan, if you're new to business planning, I kind of stripped out all the complicated parts of it, and so you can just high level think about the quality of your product or service. Is there a need for it? Your marketing strategies, make sure they are actually ones that are going to work and reach your target market and all that. We'll talk about it. And it's got to make sense financially, right? It's a business. So when you first start out, don't start writing the entire business plan. Maybe think about this, because it's going to help you get organized and just have a kind of a framework for your business plan. And by the way, I also am going to have this, if you want to download this PowerPoint that I'm walking you through, it's also in my full business plan course as a downloadable PDF. Okay, so let's get through the business plan template. I'm going to go through now each section one by one. I just did a really simple business plan. Now we're going to do a template walkthrough of a full business plan. Okay, so the first part of the business plan is very simple. It's an introduction. It's the executive summary. It's nothing major. It's just a one or two paragraph introduction. It's basically a synopsis for what the reader might read later in the business plan. So don't get into any complicated issues. Just make it like a good entry into the rest of your business plan. And by the way, sometimes a 1 to 2 page business plan is called an executive summary, and it creates some confusion. In this case, we're talking about a longer form business plan. If you are going to be writing an executive summary, you should still have most of the parts that we're going to go through of a business plan. The only difference being that you're not going to elaborate as much on each of the sections, so you'll be able to fit everything into a shorter 1 to 2 page introduction executive summary. And the executive summaries, they're good. The shorter business plans, they're good when if you're just going to give it to somebody who they just want to skim, like investors always at first skim, or busy people, they always at first skim, because they just want to get a sense of whether they're interested or not. And it's the same reason to write an executive summary in your fuller business plan. You just want to give people an opportunity to tell if they're interested or not. And if they are, they'll read more. If not, then no. You didn't waste too much of their time. All right, once you're done with the executive summary, the next thing you want to write is explain your product or service. What need does it solve? What is it? Is it a business app, a restaurant? You have to explain your product. You have to kind of ease the reader into reading. The reader just should be clear on what they're going to be reading about, whether it's interesting for them still, especially if the product is as a complex product, like maybe a tech startup. There's a lot of complexity in there, and you may want to elaborate a little bit more. But you don't want to spend too much time on it, because we'll have a chance to do that later. Okay, now you also want to explain the progress or traction of your company, right? Are you just starting? Are you in the business planning phase? Is this business plan the only thing you have? Or do you have revenue? Do you have customers? Do you have growth? You just should really inform the reader about where you are in the stage of growing your business. You just don't want to have them be confused. It's just kind of good practice. Next is the target market. Okay, many people, especially first-time entrepreneurs, they say, my target market is everyone. Everyone should be able to get my product. It's for everyone. It will help everyone. Or all men, all women, all young people, something like that. But that's not right. Because what you really got to do, of course, everyone can buy your product, but there's a certain group of people, and you define them by their demographics, like age, sex, educational status, financial status, things like that. and their psychographics, what their needs, their wants, their desires, their hobbies, things like that. So who is it mostly for? Who is your product mostly for and when, right? You have to understand who it's for so you can sell to them instead of selling to everyone. Because if you actually find people who would love your product versus people who would be just, lukewarm to your product, and if you can promote to the people who would love your product and would love to have it, you're going to have to spend a lot less money on marketing, and you're going to make a lot more sales and more money and have far more profit. So knowing your target market is invaluable because you can go advertise right to them, make money, grow your business. Wonderful, right? As opposed to fumbling around with mediocre results. Okay, and of course, once you really know your target market, you've got to calculate. You've got to be able to calculate your target market size, and it only comes after you really learn about what is your target market. Okay, and you've got to calculate the market size because, and again, I have a full tutorial of how to calculate it in my business planning course, but it's not that hard, right? Basically, there's a lot of research reports on many industries online. They can actually tell you the target market sometimes. If your target market is niche, you may have to do a little bit of calculations on your own, like annual spending, things like that, size of the population, spending per person. And you have to understand also, in addition to the market size, part of the understanding of the target market is, their spending habits. Are they wealthy? Are they not wealthy? Are they frugal or no? How badly does your target market need your product? All those things sort of go into understanding your target market. And so when you have your target market size, it will be really helpful to help you understand how much money can you really generate? What kind of a niche can you carve out? And also, shortly we'll talk about how you'll differentiate, right? Because, are you going to be able to target your entire target market or a segment of it? And there's immediate target market, and we'll get into it in a little bit. Or some things I might not be able to get into because, again, business planning is complex, and this is just I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible, even though it's going to run a little long. I'm trying to keep it as short as possible, so some of the things just won't make it in here, and they are covered in the full business planning course, because I'm sure you don't want to watch 1 hour long YouTube videos. Anyway, so moving on from the target market size, basically I really explain in detail in the course of how to identify the target market and how to calculate it. Okay. Now I want to talk about the marketing plan because it's really important. If you don't have a good marketing plan, it's just very low chance you'll get clients, right? Because that's the whole point of having a marketing plan, is so you'll be able to promote your business effectively. And like I said, most first-time entrepreneurs, their marketing plan is something like, I'll post on Facebook, Twitter, hand out business cards and flyers. I hear this like 90% of the time from first-time entrepreneurs or maybe very beginning marketers. They say this to me like maybe not 90%, but like 80% of the time, let's say. Very often. And initially I was very amazed how often exactly that phrase repeated. I was just amazed. Like, where are these guys getting this? But and see if this was your strategy. See if that's the extent of your marketing plan, because it's going to have to be far more complex. And your marketing plan isn't the reason it isn't post on Facebook, Twitter, and give out Facebook business cards and flyers. The reason it isn't that is that you must have a deep understanding of your target market, how they behave, what they like, what they don't like, and shape your marketing plan precisely around their habits, where they hang out on the web, off the web, how do they like to shop, do they like to shop, how do they like to be promoted to, are they young, are they old, what kind of messaging do they respond to. So the deeper that you know your target market, right? First, that's why you have to really identify the people who would love your product or service. Really identify them. So to sum it up, you've got to know your marketing plan really well. And by the way, if you give your business plan to investors, one of the first places where investors will look is your marketing plan, because it's a reflection of how much you've thought about your customers, your business, your promotion strategies, and how well you understand the market, right? This is one of the first things. Another thing that they're going to look into is how you describe your competition and how you're different, and we'll talk about that in a second. But your marketing plan, one of the most important things for your business, how to get clients, for your investors, how they really perceive you as an entrepreneur, and overall, it's just one of the more important. And as you recall, it was one of the things that we first talked about, even in the simple business plan. The marketing plan is extremely important. It's one of the core things. Okay, now, of course, another core thing, how does the business make money? What are the revenue streams for the business? Is the business profitable now? Is it going to be profitable in the future? How will it become profitable? We'll talk a little bit about that when we get into unit economics, which is one of the upcoming sections. But you also one important thing to decide is whether your business will have one revenue stream or multiple revenue streams. This is something really important to consider, because many people think that, you want to diversify revenue streams, blah blah blah. You want to you'll hear people say things like, don't put all your eggs in one basket, blah 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 blah. Okay, you've heard that before. It's a argument to take the risk out of your business, right? And it makes sense until you start running your business and you start realizing that what happens is that for most businesses, they might have a bunch of revenue streams, but there's one revenue stream that ends up being extremely profitable. Naturally, because even in my business, it's like that, naturally, because something really resonates with your customers, or something you're able to outcompete your competition. It just, something happens for most businesses. Even if you look at Google or Apple, well, they usually have, many revenue streams, but for Google, the AdWords is 90%. I don't have the exact figures, but it's something like 90% of their overall revenue comes from their AdWords division, right? And many companies are like that. And that's how they become big. They maybe try a few things along the way, but they find that one revenue stream that really is working for them, and then they can grow it. And what happens is, once you find that, you want to really position your entire business around that really effective revenue stream. So instead of banging your head against the wall with the mediocre revenue streams and incrementally growing that, what's awesome is if you can, awesome is a technical term, of course, it's a business term, of course, but what's really great is if you can find the one revenue stream that really works, and then position so many other things around your business to propel that revenue stream and send more and more customers towards that, and just get more and more people into that sales funnel, because that is what makes for growth. That's going to help you grow. It's going to help you get more money, more revenue, more clients. So you got to find that one special one, and it's really important. So there's this always perpetual argument: should you have a lot of revenue streams and diversify your business, or should you really focus on finding a great revenue stream? For my taste, as a business person, whatever, as an entrepreneur, I always like to experiment with many revenue streams, because you never know what's going to hit. And it's something that you do early on in your business. But when you find something that has potential for growth, you must stick with it and give it a really good shot, a really strong shot, so that you can really get, see if you can achieve the highest potential, get all the potential out of it. And very likely, or chances are, you'll maybe hit that gold mine. So that's my view on this, and it's a little bit of a, it's a gray area. Different people have their own opinions. Now you know mine. Okay, unit economics is something really interesting and important, and people rarely look into this. So let's say that you sell a widget or something, or even in the example that I have in the business plan course, is let's say that you have a lawn care, like mowing lawns, right? Lawn care business. Well, what is a single unit? A single unit is like this single transaction, right? So selling to a single customer, right? So let's say you sold to a single customer. It's your first time going to mow the lawns there, right? So in that, you have to look into what are the little things, right? So what are the individual things that caused that sale? So you put some money into marketing, you put some money into sales, you convince that person, the homeowner or whoever, to get your company to come and mow the lawn, right? Then, of course, you have workers. You can do it yourself, which will save you money on paying for the workers. Or if you have a bigger company, you can't do everything yourself, so you'll have to pay for the workers. And of course, if you do it yourself, there's less money, there's less expenses, and it's more profitable. But as you have to hire people, it's less profitable unless you charge more. So there's all those little details that move around in your unit economics. But essentially, you look at what it costs you to make the sale, what it costs you to perform the work, and what it costs you to, what was the profit from that. And here's the trick, actually. You might think to yourself, oh, but people don't just hire lawn care mowing just once, right? Because the grass keeps growing, okay? Aha, that's right. So if you don't screw up your initial kind of test, with that initial client, right? Then guess what? Let's say a month later, the grass grows back, the customer wants you back. But you didn't have to spend any money on marketing and sales, right? The customer just said, reorder. And so that becomes more profitable, right? That's the same transaction just became more profitable. And the more times the person just reorders, you get a lot more revenue from them, right? Instead of just a one-time thing, they might become a customer for 20 years, okay? Every month. So a lot more, orders of magnitude more money from them. And each subsequent transaction will be more profitable than the first. So once you understand your unit economics, you understand kind of what goes on in it's almost like dissecting a transaction. And once you dissect a transaction, you understand where it can be improved, how it can be improved, how it can be multiplied, things like that. And this is really the beautiful thing about your unit economics, is because it also gives you a sense for the health of your business. Because you'll get to understand where the business is struggling, which piece of it is least profitable, what makes it more profitable, and then you'll of course work on making the business more profitable, getting rid of the things that are working not so well and adding things that are working better. Right? So you continuously should always kind of look to improve on your unit economics. And you only can do that once you really dissect the unit economics and take a long look at it. Okay. Next section that you should really focus on is, and this is basic. I mean, every business should have this: the founding and executive team. And this is not rocket science to write this section. You basically just list yourself and the rest of the founding members of the company and their relevant backgrounds for this business. Do they have 10 years experience in the field? Do they have a degree in the field? Have they built a business in this field before? Things like that. You should also list your advisors and board members if you have those. So this is a simple section, but people will want to know about this. Now, the next section is very important. Your competition. Your competition. The reason investors like to look at this is they want to know if, first of all, how well you understand the market within you're going to be doing business, and how you look at your competition, and how you see yourself as different, right? And you always want to say that you are different, and you never want to say you're better than your competition. Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they make this mistake of saying, we're better than this company because so-and-so. But if you haven't started, or if you're just starting, how are you better than some kind of established player, right? You might not be better, you might be just different, okay? So you'll be different, and so you'll be able to carve out a niche for yourself. And also, this differentiator will show to the investors, because presumably the investors also have a deep understanding of your market, because otherwise, why would they be investing in it? And the investors, I'm sure, understand the market, and they'll be able to judge for themselves how smart of a strategy you have. If your differentiation is something clever and needed in the market, as perceived by the investors, then they'll be like, oh, that's cool. And if not, then they might ask you more questions, or they might just silently not like that. which is the worst case for you. So your differentiation is something you should really think about how you're different. It will show your understanding of the market, and it's just one of the most important parts of your overall business strategy. There's also another thing you want to include in your business plan, and it's called the SWOT analysis. No, it's not like SWAT, like police. It's an acronym. It stands for strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And it's often drawn as like a four, like a grid, and it's four parts. And you really want to take a look at your business, right? What are the strengths of your business ideas? For example, is it in a big market? Do you have a lot of experience in it? Something like that, right? What are the weaknesses? Maybe are you underfunded? Do you have strong competition, right? Then the opportunities are, of course, like, okay, maybe you have an interesting way that you've differentiated yourself, or a clever way that you are able to stand out and grow within this market. And of course, the threats are, oh, maybe like Apple just created a competitive product. Oh no, right? They might destroy the entire or reshape the entire industry, and a lot of small businesses will get crushed, unfortunately. So you want to kind of take a look at each time you evaluate a business strategy, and your business plan is like your entire business strategy. You want to really take it through the SWOT analysis, and just really maybe it's kind of like a 4-quadrant sort of thing that you just fill out, and it's really for you and for other people who are kind of like trying to gauge your business plan strength and the strength of your business in general. And again, I have more of this kind of explanations of, especially on the SWOT analysis. I have a whole video on it in the course. Next section, of course, you want to explain your previous funding. Stuff like this, when it talks about money, you can either have it in your business plan as a regular section, or you can put it into the appendix of your business plan. The reason you want to have an appendix is for sensitive information. So like financials, previous funding, it's not for everyone to know. It's kind of more private, right? So if ever you want to add it, like you want to show it to an investor who should really understand the previous funding, then you add it. And if you don't want to show it to somebody, then you don't include the appendix. And the appendix is just a really easy way to take sensitive information in and out of the business plan as you send it to people. And so this is the part where we talk about the previous funding. Of course, you want to tell if it's investors, you want to tell them about previous funding. But if it's not investors, why do they need to know about your previous funding? It's kind of private information. You don't want to put that. Okay, let's get into some of the finances. It's everybody's least favorite, but you gotta put it. You gotta know it, right? Because again, it's your strength as an entrepreneur. You've got to really know your finances. So again, you can just put all your finances into the appendix, but the first thing that I like to see included is a cash flow statement. A cash flow statement is a really simple thing. It's basically a itemized list of all the revenue and spending that comes into your business and out of your business. It basically is just a way for you to tell if your business is profitable. Of course, if you haven't started the business, there's no revenue. There's just expenses, right? Let's say you're starting like the lawn care business. Well, you've got to buy your equipment. You've got to open the business, register it. That costs some money. Equipment. You might have to hire some people to like start. You might have to hire a lawyer. You might have to hire accountant just to help you with the business, basic business formation things. We might have to have some initial employees. You might have to start doing marketing. Okay, that's all itemized things that if you have office space, that would be also an expense. Those would be like itemized things showing how cash is going out of your business. And once you start, of course, those things will still remain. Some of them will change, but you'll have more money maybe spent on marketing, more money spent on employee salary, but you'll also have revenue. And it's basically, a good way to determine how profitable your business is or how much money you're losing. You can really easily see from this cash flow statement, and sort of plan out, the rest of your business strategy, because sometimes if your business is just started, it might be losing money, and you also want to make sure that you don't lose more money than you have saved, right? So you want to keep the business going until it becomes profitable, and you want to kind of project your runway. So that's the cash flow statement. It's a really good thing to have. People, reading your business plan will look for it. And then there's the financials, like listing your assets, liabilities, determining your overall equity, and this gets a little bit hairy. So I do have full tutorials on this. It's probably the most complicated. It's not that complicated, but in a video like this, it's a little complicated to explain. I have it in my business plan course, which again I'll link to in the description of the video if you're watching this on YouTube. And by the way, I also have mobile apps that I made that can help you write your business plan right on the app, and even write it with friends. So they're kind of cool, and I'll link to them as well. They're on Android and iOS. So I'll have a bunch of resources for you in the description of the video, including the business plan course. I also have a full course on starting a business. So it's a lot of resources for you, especially if you're a first-time entrepreneur. It's really great. It's going to really help you and save you a ton of money and time, because it's going to prevent mistakes. And for any business strategy mistakes, it's going to save you a lot of money and a lot of time. So it's really invaluable to get good guidance when you really first start, and those resources are a part of it. So lastly, of course, there's the appendix section, and I'm glad that it's lastly, because I'm sure you're tired of listening to me talk, and I'm kind of getting tired of talking too, because I need a water break. But the appendix is essentially a place where you can put all your sensitive or private information that is only for some people, and you can attach the appendix, and you can have like Appendix A, Appendix B, whatever. Appendix A might be financials. Appendix B might be like if you want to make people sign an NDA and they don't want to sign an NDA, then you don't show them the full. If they don't sign the NDA, you don't show them the sensitive information in Appendix B maybe, and you just give them the basic information in the business plan, right? So you can kind of have different appendices, take them, include them in and out depending on who's reading the business plan and how much you really want them to know. So that's it. That's been 21 sort of tips on 20 tips on how to write a business plan. If you follow this video, you'll pretty much make a good business plan. But let me tell you that really the quality of your business plan is, you are going to have a template and you are going to have something written in each part. The challenge is that it's up to you, because I can't see your business plan. I can't see what you write. So it's up to you to make sure that what you write is good. So whoever you give it to, or whatever plan you make, that it's actually a good plan that is going to resonate with investors or resonate with potential business partners, and also going to create a strong business. Now, I've already said it a bunch of times, you're welcome to take my course. You're welcome to reach out to me for coaching. I'll have links and explanations of what's possible and how I can help you in the description of the video, so just take a quick look at that. Also, you can try my apps, and good luck. I mean, it does take some time for you to be able to actually write really savvy and strong strategies, to come up with strong strategies for your business. That takes just being a strong entrepreneur, an experienced entrepreneur. And that's why sometimes coaching is good. If coaching is something like you can't afford, then the online classes are best, because just like you probably learned a lot in this video, well, the classes they're made for you. They're structured in a way for you to just learn as well as possible in the least amount of time as possible, so you can actually get on with your business and quickly become a stronger entrepreneur, more knowledgeable, better able to think about business strategy. So I'm going to leave you with that. You kind of know all the options and the ways I can help you. And even if you don't pursue them, I hope that this video helped you. I hope you got a lot out of it. And, I hope to see you in my other videos. I have a ton of other videos, and I'm going to actually I'm going to have probably a annotation linking to some other video, or probably how you can start a business or whatever, something useful, or how do you make money online, because a lot of people starting a business, really they just want to make money. So I'll have a video to that, and of course check out the description of the video with a bunch of other resources for you, and good luck.